Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps. Myanmar has approximately 42 million inhabitants. The majority of them are Buddhists. Catholics make up less than 1% of the population with approximately 450,000. To tell us more, it's my great pleasure to welcome today Father Theodore Mascarenhas, priest from India who recently returned from a 10-day trip for the Pontifical Council for Culture here in Rome. Before we speak with Father Theodore, we're going to see now a small report on the situation of Catholics in Myanmar. Every Friday during Lent, faithful in traditional Leongis gather to reenact the Passion of our Lord. Although the gestures and prayers recited at each station of the cross are familiar, the location is not. In this case, the procession is set in one of the most politically isolated and impoverished countries in the world. It is oft stated that geography determines history, and in the case of Burma, recently renamed Myanmar, the rugged borders have determined that it is still today one of the most remote countries in the world. Until recently, neighboring Thailand received more visitors in one day than Myanmar in 1 year. The jagged geography encircling the country is softened by the almost casual beauty of the interior. Myanmar is an agrarian society, and the Irrawaddy River serves not only as the lifeblood, but also as the source of the staple diet of fish, caught by men who, as the local proverb states, do so to save the fish from drowning. This sense of calm that pervades nature is reflected in the Burmese people. With a population of about 48 million, 85% are Buddhist. The search for the middle way, the cultivation of tranquility, and the acceptance of karma engenders a calm, if insular, existence. Many believe Buddha was born here, and evidence suggests that Buddhism existed as early as 200 BC. Today, the state religion, it visibly permeates all aspects of life. Monks in vermilion color the streets, and the country boasts over 51,000 monasteries and temples. Unfortunately, despite Buddhism's apparently gentle face, Myanmar's history is racked by violence and poverty. From a pre-war position as one of Asia's most developed and wealthiest countries, today it is Southeast Asia's most impoverished. Most of the population live in small villages and towns. With an average daily income of about $1, many struggle just to have one meal of rice a day. Only 20% have electricity, and only 25% of young people go to school. With poor sanitation and health service, the population is quickly subjected to diseases such as tuberculosis, cholera, and malaria. With over 100 tribal groups, the country's ethnic landscape is the most diverse in Southeast Asia. The Burmese comprise about 68% of the population, and the remainder is divided into 7 main minority groups, including the Shan, Karen, and Chin. It is an explosive patchwork, and the coincidence of ethnicity and religion has deepened the divisions between the ethnic groups.
At the moment, we are being threatened to evict from the place where we are now. If that really becomes a reality, that will be a big problem. How to solve the problem, we do not know. That's a preoccupation in our minds at the moment. And my head, as a leader of this congregation here in Myanmar, is going round and round. But I trust in divine providence. We are blessed with many vocations. They are sent by the bishops or priests, but they don't continue to support us. We try all the means that we can to educate them, to feed them and clothe them, because the majority of them, they can pay nothing. They come from very poor families. So we have to nurture them and educate them and bring them up, more than their own families.
Because of the political situation in Burma, the work of the sisters is quite limited. They can only work in the catechetical field. They're not allowed to become too involved in social work. And as well as that, they probably haven't had the training that they should have to do their work well. So what we try to do is to help the sisters with a better formation and also providing them with catechetical materials for their work.
The educational system has also suffered due to government corruption and mismanagement. Universities have been closed down, except those benefiting the military. Missionary and privately run schools have all been nationalized, resulting in a dramatic drop in the level of education. With classes of at least 50, young students often seek extra tuition outside their regular class times, incurring costs that many parents simply cannot afford. In poorer areas, the church has set up extracurricular classes to facilitate the educational needs of these young students, both Catholic and Buddhist. For Catholic children, this is especially important, as this means that they are able to maintain and grow in their religious identity, despite the state-enforced Buddhist education. Notwithstanding the growth in vocations, clergy and religious cannot reach out to all the animist tribes scattered throughout the mountain regions. Tribes still practice a form of spiritual animism, a religion based on spiritual protections against the evil spirits that come to destroy the crops and bring death. In view of this, one of the more remarkable mission initiatives started in 1987 is that of the Little Evangelizers, locally known as Riedemanns. These students between the ages of 18 and 30, before entering university or getting married, dedicate 2 or more years of their life to evangelize in the jungle areas of the border regions. Educated through the diocese from 3 to 5 months, they learn basic church catechism as well as a practical education in healthcare and hygiene. With these rudiments, the Riedemanns set off in twos to teach and care for the locals as living examples of Christian charity in villages that are usually exclusively Buddhist or animist. Often, this is the first contact that these tribes have with Christianity. The mission activity is not without danger, as the Zetamans must travel on foot, often for days with little in the way of food and water. Upon arrival at a village, where not turned away, they are at the mercy of the villagers for food and shelter. Some have also given their lives due to malaria.
Most of them, they say that when they are in difficulties, they used to pray to God, because there is, in the front line, there is no one to help them up. So they prayed day and night.
Despite these hurdles, the results have been remarkable, and in some dioceses, up to 4,000 have been converted by the example of these young people.
Many children, they could read and write now, and also they come to know how to live in a better life. They appreciate the work of the settlements, and they come to know more about our Catholicism, that through the examples of the settlements.
The Catholic Church in Myanmar is an example of hope in the face of confrontation. Despite the storms of poverty, a brutal military regime, and civil war, vocations continue to grow. The Catholic population has doubled in the last 20 years, and the enthusiasm of the young to evangelization remains undiminished. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our program Where God Weeps. Today we're here with Father Theodore Mascarenhas at the Pontifical Council for Culture. Father Theodore has recently returned from Myanmar from a fact-finding trip based on an invitation from Archbishop Charles Bo, the Archbishop of Yangon, Myanmar. Father Theodore, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Father Theodore, what is the relationship between the Pontifical Council for Culture and evangelization? How does that cross over, if you will?
Yeah, in fact, the Pontifical Council of Culture was founded by Pope John Paul II in 1982 because, as Gaudium et Spes has put it, and then Paul VI had repeatedly said in Evangelii Nuntiandi, that the gospel and evangelization cannot be limited to one culture. It transcends cultures, and it can transform cultures. So the Pontifical Council for Culture itself was founded to find a new way of evangelization. And this new way of evangelization was to get the gospel and the faith to encounter cultures, and that the cultures might encounter the faith in Jesus Christ, and when they accept, they could express, people could express it in their own cultural language.
So we're talking about inculturation, in fact.
Oh, well, in a certain way, because we say evangelization of cultures and inculturation are two complementary aspects of a same mission.
What makes the difference?
Evangelization of cultures is we proclaim the gospel and Jesus Christ and the faith to a culture. That would be evangelization of cultures. The response would be a sort of an inculturation. So, like we like to say this, that inculturation without the faith is an empty gong, because then it would be only mimicry, just imitating something, pulling up from something from the culture, putting into the faith. Instead, when there is an evangelization of cultures, we don't think about inculturation, because inculturation automatically happens. It's a response to the evangelization that we do. One of the key points there is that cultures have their good points, but cultures also need to be healed. There are both things going along. So when the gospel enters a culture, it absorbs the good things, reinforces the good values, the positive values, and it heals or discards whatever is not conducive to the gospel, to Jesus Christ and the faith.
Now, you traveled recently to Myanmar with this purpose to attend a series and to give a series of seminars about the question of evangelization of culture, or what was the hope perhaps of Archbishop Bo in inviting you to come?
You see, the church in Myanmar is in a very, very funny, I should say very strange situation because of the different things that we know, how things go about. This church in 1963 had all its schools taken away. So they had no schools, practically they have no. The church in Myanmar,
they were all nationalized.
Yeah, they were all nationalized in 1963. Even today, to do a lot of the activities, they have a lot of difficulties. They find it difficult to get many of their projects passed. Christians themselves, in some places, they are not promoted just because they are Christians. So they have their own difficulties. Then here you have a church that is really materially poor. But if you look at the people, I attended 2 masses. I participated in one mass, which was, there were about 5,000, 6,000 people for an evening feast. And Archbishop Bo insisted that I remain for the celebration of the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes at Nibleung National Shrine, where there were 50,000 people squatting on the floor in rapt attention for nearly 3 hours attending a mass. And one of the interesting things was the first day when we began one of the seminars, Archbishop Bo asked me to give a homily. So I gladly accepted because this was an opportunity to talk, and I'd gone there to talk. So I spoke for 10 minutes, and the mass got over, and they told me, "Father, very beautiful homily, but it was too short." 10-minute homily in Europe, they would have praised you.
But only too happy.
Yeah, and they would have said it was too long because they would want 7 minutes. Then in the evening, we had this mass with about 5,000 people, everything in Burmese or Myanmarese. And the Archbishop Charles Bo spoke for an hour, people squatting on the floor. I couldn't understand what he was telling them, but for 1 hour, they were there listening to him, drinking in every word. You know, more or less remember the crowds that were listening to Jesus when you see these people. And every 2-3 minutes, he used to make them laugh. I told him I never understood his jokes, but I could see people were very interested. And then another big experience for me with these people was when I gave them communion, to see them with their eyes closed, waiting anxiously to receive the Lord, put their tongue out, receive Him devoutly, stop there, and then move away. It's real education for me because you see the fervor in these people.
Father, I think we would be remiss if we didn't touch on the difficulties recently that have happened in Myanmar. As you know, there was a severe crackdown on particularly the Buddhist monks. What has been the position of the Catholic Church in an overview, if you will? What has been the general position of the Catholic Church in this difficult time?
I think one should read the statement made by Archbishop Charles Bo, who was then the president of the Episcopal Conference, which is a very balanced. One must understand that 650,000 Catholics in a population of how many million? I think some 50 million odd. Is nothing. It's a drop in the ocean. Yet the Catholic Church is looked upon with respect because of the position it has been taking. Its position has been very clear, very gospel-like in the spirit of faith. It has called for reconciliation, it has called for tolerance, and it has called for mutual respect.
I know, for example, in reading that Archbishop Bo has asked the priests and the bishops not to take political positions in this difficult situation, which is a common practice of the Catholic Church around the world. Catholic priests and bishops are asked not to involve themselves politically,
Yes.
but rather to be with the people.
Yes.
This has also then been the case now in Myanmar, though he did say, Archbishop Bo, that the Catholic lay people can express their solidarity are free to express their political
I think
opinion.
this comes also from the canon law, which doesn't want priests and bishops getting into politics. That's very clear. The Church has even taken very strong stance on people standing for elections. So he has remained very much within the canon law instructions there, that people don't really get into all sorts of political mongering, because then everything comes in. Yeah. But you know, when you think of it, what can this small tiny church there do, even if it decided to really plunge into the whole thing? It would be simply finished. So I think it was a wise and prudent decision. Like, you know, if we live, we can get better days to see. If we die, it's just nothing. So in that sense, I really appreciated the stand they took, in the sense they remained on a very, very ideological level, because as a tiny community, the poorest community also in Myanmar, because the Catholics are among the poorest, they wouldn't really have been able to contribute much and would have suffered more damage. So it was like the amount of good you can do in proportion to the harm you would suffer.
Is there going to be a return visit for you to Myanmar?
I wish and I hope. There have been suggestions from at least 2 of the bishops that I could come there to preach a retreat, but I would have always have to get in as a visitor in any case. But I wish I could go and visit the country, go to Mandalay and Mission, different other areas, because this is a very, very interesting country. It has borders with India, borders with Bangladesh, borders with China, and borders with Thailand. It's easier to come into Myanmar from China than to go in from Bangkok. So it's the.
What would be your appeal, let's say, to the international community for the Catholics in Myanmar?
I think we should support them materially first and foremost, especially their projects. They have Yangon, for example, has a rural development agency which tries to do things in the villages where nobody enters by way of development. Help maybe their youth to get education, to come out and educate themselves, but always with the condition that they go back, because
yes,
number
temptation
of them settle out and then no good is done to the community. So some sort of bond that they would return to their country for at least 3 to 5 years minimum. That would do a lot of good to the country, I think.
Thank you, Father Theodore, for being with us here today, and we look forward to hearing more from you about your work and about the situation of the Catholic Church in Myanmar. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today in our program. If you'd like to know more about the work of the Pontifical Council for Culture, or more about the situation of Catholics in Myanmar, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Where God Weeps.